Don in London. Hello, it's January 22nd, 2010. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, equally as addictive along the years. Work, relationships, materialism, collecting, trying to look right, trying to be right, putting on a brave face, not quite sure who I was, covering up the fear. But it took a long time to cover up the fear, because I didn't know what I was covering up, and I just didn't feel quite right about me and my life. But when I started drinking, or when I took that first drink, and it was a long, long time ago, in the far, far distant past, it changed me. It changed my outlook. It changed my feelings, or it sort of let some feelings out, because for a long time, I suspect, I was hiding my feelings in case they were wrong. And I kept on thinking, I don't fit in. But these days, what I've learned is, if I understand what I'm feeling in the moment of now, as much as that is possible, because there seems always to be some sort of time delay, and the time delay is about not being quite sure or right, that it's okay to be vulnerable and have those feelings. So, along the way, in work, never quite sure of my feelings about being okay, with relationships, often finding after they'd finished that I wish they hadn't. And why did that happen? And why did I run away? Or why did the other person? Why did she run away from me? And probably because there wasn't much depth in me. And that's nobody's fault. It's just the way it was. So when we look back into the past, it's best to look back and not stare too hard at what we were, but learn from it. Learn that we were not that complete. And the gift of recovery, which I'm in one day at a time, after 35 years of drinking, is to start the day with not quite sure who I am, but knowing a little bit more about who I could be or am by the end of it. And part of that is understanding what I'm grateful for and what I might be ungrateful for. Some of the sad of life experiences, I don't know that I'm that grateful as they're happening. I don't like sadness too much, but I need it as much as I need happiness, simply that I need to know the difference. And once I know the difference and how I'm feeling in the moment, I have a better way of living the experience, and I can be more genuine and authentic in my responses to how people are with me. And we all fear not being loved, not being able to love, and not having something useful to do. So being in touch with now means that I can love, be loved, and be useful. And those seem to be the most prime or primary elements of life for me, to love, be loved, and useful. And in the usefulness comes everything to do with making a living, or just living. So what have I learned? Well, I couldn't stop being in the addiction on my own. That problem, me the problem in the addiction. It took a long time to get to denial. I was unaware for many years, because I just thought I was doing what everybody else did, taking the edge off, and rewarding myself with what I thought was helping me enjoy life. But the trouble is, when we get dependent on something and we can't do without it, or it feels uncomfortable without it, through to I cannot do without it at all, and I need to drink and drink and drink, there's something we need to do, and that's to ask ourselves, what is our state of mind, what is our state of physical being, and what's going on. And it took me a long time to actually admit addiction and accept it. So what helps me these days? Well, I'm part of a fellowship called Alcoholics Anonymous, just one of many, but every single person in that fellowship, or this fellowship called AA, is unique and authentic. Not special and different, simply unique and authentic on their own unique, authentic path of living. And the fellowship helps us because we share experience, strength and hope, and how to stay sober. So I always share the AA preamble here, and also a little bit of the literature and what's been going on in my life. And here comes the statement of intent, or the AA preamble, shared at every meeting. And it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And we do that, just simply one day at a time. And I went to a meeting called the After Eights last night, which is at Eaton Square. And After Eights is after 8 o'clock in the evening, but more importantly, the people who share have been sober 8 years or more. They do the share. And at the same time, there are people in the room, and there were probably about 100 in last night, who have maybe a few hours sober through to, in this case, over 47 years sober. And the person speaking as the chairperson last night was celebrating some decades in sobriety and had an anniversary the day before. And they shared about experience, strength and hope, how to get right-sized with the world, that is, to be the same size as any other human being, how to share a message of experience, strength and hope, and keep sober. And having done it for several decades and helped a lot of people along the way, one can only admire what they've done. But that's not to put them on a pedestal, it's to admire what they have done and their sobriety, because we can all do this, and it's one day, just for today. And in the Daily Reflections book, this one, which covers the 12 steps of action to change our attitude and behaviour on a daily basis, and each step is covered each month. So January is all about step 1, powerless over alcohol and life being unmanageable if we drink. And some of us have been back for more research before we actually set into a pattern of changing our attitude and behaviour to not drink on a daily basis. And I would be one of those. So it took me a while to get into the routine of how to be sober. I mean, it's amazing, 35 years doing it one way, and then the next day doing it another way, without drink. And how do we do this? We need fellowship. Well, for me, I do. There are other ways, I do assure you, if you don't like the fellowship. But that's okay. Anyway, for January 22nd, it says this: let's keep it simple. It's a bit sad, this one. A few hours later, I took my leave of Dr. Bob, and he's one of the co-founders of AA. The wonderful old broad smile was on his face as he said, almost jokingly, "Remember, Bill, let's not louse this thing up. Let's keep it simple." I turned away, unable to say a word. That was the last time I ever saw him. And that's Bill Wilson speaking about his friend. It goes on to say, after years of sobriety, I occasionally ask myself, can it be this simple? Then at meetings I see former cynics and skeptics who have walked the AA path out of hell by packaging their lives without alcohol into 24-hour segments, during which they practice a few principles to the best of their individual abilities, individuality expressed there. And then I know again that, while it isn't always easy, if I keep it simple, it works. And for me, I can complicate anything. Somebody pays me a compliment. Somebody pays me a compliment, and I don't know what to do. And that's when I come back to this thing of being able to feel the emotion in the moment. If somebody's complimenting us, it means that we're doing okay. It doesn't mean there is any ulterior motive behind the compliment. It's just a compliment. If there are other motives, well, maybe we'll get to find out what they are. But the gift is just to accept how another person feels about what we've done, and to accept it ourselves, and that it may be a good thing. So serenity is about the good and the bad, and being able to live with the good and the bad of who we are. And acceptance is always key. So that acceptance prayer, which goes to God or good conscience: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me is in a 24-hour segment commonly called Just for Today.